Morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the anniversary special edition of our monthly SiT retreats. I'm sure you had a nice beginning of your day today. It's being a Saturday morning, and who better than Brother Charlie to listen to on this 9th anniversary occasion of the monthly SiT retreats. As you all know, it's been 9 years since we started the second Saturday retreat, and it took off in a small way with about 10 participants initially, and now we have reached more than 10,000 participants in this journey of 9 years. So to mark this big event, we have with us Brother Charlie. Would like to welcome you, Charlie Bhai. Welcome from Hyderabad. And I would like to introduce you to our brother Charlie. Charlie Bhai is the National Coordinator, Chief Executive of the Brahma Kumaris in Australia, and the Chairman of its Board of Directors. He is based in Sydney and regularly visits the 40 BK venues around Australia. We have about 40 branches, BK presence in 40 areas in Australia. He is also an active member of the Brahma Kumaris International Coordinating Group, responsible for major international projects and the administrative director of the organization's global network of centers. Charlie grew up in Melbourne and was studying architecture at Melbourne University when he felt an inner urge to travel to follow his interest in culture and explore various spiritual philosophies. For more than 3 years, he traveled through Asia to the Middle East and Europe. During this time, he lived in many communities, including Buddhist, Christian, Sikh, Muslim, Hindu, and Taoist, which led him to probe more deeply into questions about life and death and transformation. In 1975, he came across the Brahma Kumaris in London, where he learned meditation. After teaching and training, he returned to Australia in 1977 to open a Brahma Kumaris Center in Collingwood, Melbourne. In 1980, Charlie moved to Sydney and became the national coordinator for the Brahma Kumaris in Australia. There are now 40 BK venues in Australia, including 3 retreat centers. Retreat centers are bigger setups where more number of people can be accommodated and can spend a little more time and have some wonderful experiences. So there are about 3 retreat centers there. One on the peninsula south of Melbourne, opened in 1996. The other in Sydney, opened in 1999, and one in the Blue Mountains, west of Sydney, opened in 2001, and the main center in Australia in Five Dock, Sydney, which also serves as the national and regional headquarters. Charlie also travels regularly to the BK centers throughout the world to speak on conferences, seminars, retreats, and workshops. So there's a lot to talk about Charlie Bhai, since he's been into this path for more than 40 years and traveled to more than 70 countries now. And he's been very busy this year conducting many online retreats in different countries and helping people cope up with these challenging times. So without taking much of your time, I invite Charlie Bhai to please share his thoughts on the topic, the power of a quiet mind. Over to you, Charlie Bhai. Not able to hear you, Charlie Bhai.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Yes, okay. So thank you so much, Shivani Ben. I'm so happy to be with everybody. And congratulations on your 9 years. And I think it's amazing sort of bringing what can we say, a peace and a spirituality to the IT world. And I think that's a really wonderful achievement. And I would really just like to share a few thoughts today about the power of a quiet mind. I'm actually not a psychologist or a counselor, but I do move around a lot and I meet a lot of people in all these years of learning and teaching meditation. And I would say over the last 10 or 15 years, so many times I hear from people from all backgrounds, all ages, all professions, that I can't stop thinking. My mind is in overdrive. I feel a victim of my thoughts. I can't sleep. And it seems like there's an epidemic of overthinking in our world. And I always find it such a great paradox that we are so educated about the world outside, but so uneducated about the world inside. And probably the most important thing in life today, and I'm sure many people would suggest this, is the art of creating a more peaceful mind or a quiet mind. And on the one hand, I think that, we live in a world, there's just so much busyness and speed, noise, distractions. And all that busyness, noise, and distractions is really sending us crazy. But on the other hand, I think we crave a quiet mind. We crave inner stillness. We crave a mind at rest. We crave that sweet feeling when you're just at one and calm internally. But I really feel that the speed has a purpose. The noise of life has a purpose. All the busyness and distractions have a purpose. Because in a way, they stop us from looking really deep within to see really, who am I? And what are the reasons I can't quiet my mind? With all the knowledge I have, with all the study I've done, with all the wisdom about the world, why is it so challenging to quieten the mind? And in my experience, many people get to the point where they decide, I have to do something. I switch off the phone, I turn off the computer. I pledge that I'm not going to get caught in this cycle of doing, busyness. But actually what happens is that sometimes when we stop, it's like I enter this inner emptiness, like an inner void. It's like this, a sadness inside, almost like a depression inside. And it's a really uncomfortable feeling, this sort of inner emptiness that so many of us feel these days. And so how do we fill the emptiness? What do we do to fill this inner vacuum? Busyness, just keep running, buy a new phone, rush around, do something, because it keeps me on the surface from really going deep to see who I am. And in a way, I think all this busyness, all this rushing is a form of denial or avoidance to do what is most important in life, and that is to create a quiet mind. And my experience is that if I have a quiet mind, those around me will be influenced by it, especially my children and my family members. And I think in our heart, all of us would love to give such a quality gift to those people I love most of all. And I often feel that my mind is the center of my life. My whole life happens in my mind. If you think my thoughts, my feelings, my memories, my relationships, my reactions, it's all happening just here in this little space in the front of my brain. This is where my whole life happens. How important is it to give time to really master a quiet mind? And the mind is such a fascinating thing. Though there's a scientist I met in Australia who has opened the Center for Studying the Mind. He said to me that of all areas of science, the one lagging behind is the study of the human mind. Don't you find that incredible? The thing creating all the technology and all the scientific inventions is the very thing that, from a scientific perspective, we're lagging behind. But some say that in a waking day of 16 hours, we have around 70,000 unique thoughts. Others say that in 1 minute, you can think 500 words, but you can only speak about 125. And we all know that, even when you're speaking, how many other things is your mind doing? It's such an extraordinary instrument. The mind is like a thought factory. It's constantly producing. Even when we sleep, it's constantly producing thought. And the wonder of the human mind from a psychological perspective is that the mind can be aware on 7 different levels at any given moment. So you can be processing information on 7 different levels. Light travels at 186 miles a second. Thought is instant. Thought is instant. What an extraordinary energy. And so let's begin this journey to a quiet mind. And for me, I feel that I think of my inner world, my consciousness, like a tree. And we know a tree has a seed, the roots, the trunk, the branches, the twigs, and the leaves. The leaves are the end product of that tree. And in a way, my thoughts are the end product of the tree of consciousness inside. And why I say that is many of us don't like some of my thoughts. My thoughts make me peaceless. They disturb me. And so I try to pluck a few thoughts out. But actually, the thoughts are the product of my whole sense of self-awareness, my consciousness, my mental, emotional, and spiritual state internally. But let's begin to look at this tree, but I'm going to start from the leaves and go down from the leaves. The leaves are the individual thoughts. And as I was saying, I think many times we identify certain thoughts which are very uncomfortable. They might be thoughts putting myself down. They might be those anxious thoughts about what's happening in the world at the moment. There might be angry thoughts about a colleague or whatever. And sometimes with a little bit of effort, we try to pluck a few of them out and we may have a little success. But my experience is that pluck one out and 10 more grow. It's like the leaves will just keep coming. The thoughts keep coming. And even my observation too, when I began to meditate, was when I realized that my mind is driven by the world outside. Because the mind collects information from the world through the senses, what I see, what I hear, etc. And so I hear a comment. I let it in my ear and it enters my mind. Think, 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 think. So that comment drives my thinking. I see some bad behavior. I see some injustice. I let it through my eyes into my mind. Think, think, think. And so in a way, most of us are dancing to the tune of the external world. And so we've become a victim of the mind. So now let's go down to the branches. And the branches are really feeding the twigs of feelings and thought streams and the leaves of thoughts. The branches are really my mental and emotional patterns. And I would say there's 2 huge branches. One is the ruminating, the dwelling on the past. Some psychologists say 70% of our thinking is of the past. The second is thinking about the future, worrying about the future, I should say, which is anxiety. These are 2 powerful branches in our tree at the moment, but there's a lot of sub-branches. My perfectionist thinking. I always have the expectations, unless things are perfect, I don't feel happy, which is a very unusual way of looking at life. Or perhaps my paranoia. I start to read all sorts of meaning into what people say and events in life. Or maybe the daily video I play of the mistakes I made or things that went wrong. all of these sort of images are in the branches, but actually the trunk is holding the branches. The trunk is feeding the branches are feeding the leaves, the thoughts. And the trunk is my sense of identity. And really, I would say the greatest influence on my thinking is my sense of identity. Reprogram that, and you reprogram your mental and emotional patterns, the branches, and then the thinking as well, and the feeling. And when I begin to think of who I am, to me, there's probably 3 personalities that all of us have at the moment. I would say one of them creates a really quiet mind. One of them takes me to that sweet place. 2 of them make me extremely mentally peaceless. And this first personality in the trunk, as we're trying to get to the bottom of making my mind quiet and trying to get to the bottom of who I am, the first personality I call the I of arrogance, or the I of superiority. And this I takes its whole sense of self from all the labels of my body, my gender, my age, my nationality, my religion, my position. That's my sense of self. But all those labels are temporary. And when this I is ruling my inner world, I compare with others and I think, I am better, I know more, I am right. But when it comes into my feelings, that's when I feel so easily insulted, disrespected, not valued, excluded, sensitive, and much, much more. How much thinking does the feeling of insult, sensitivity, exclusion create? So much overthinking. So sow the seed of a false identity, and the mind is anything but quiet. The second, I would say, identity is really what I would call the I of inferiority, or the I of lack of self-respect. This I also takes this whole sense of identity from the labels of my body. In a way, it's inverse ego. And I compare myself with others, and I always think others are better, others know more, others are right. Others don't love me, others don't value me, others don't respect me. And when it comes into my feeling, it's when I'm under the influence of this I of inferiority, the I of lack of self-respect, I feel hopeless about myself. I feel inadequate. I feel unworthy. I feel all these feelings. I feel depressed. In psychology, depression is a sadness that my dream in life to be loved and valued hasn't happened. But in spirituality, depression is like a mourning for the loss of my true identity. And just when you think that when you have depression and this sort of deep sadness, these sorts of things, once again, so much thinking, so much self-doubt. And so this is pumping my mind full of thoughts, and my mind is anything but quiet. And so we're beginning to see that when the I of arrogance, the I of superiority is ruling my inner system, or the I of inferiority, the I of lack of self-respect, what happens? Up and down, and excessive thinking, peacelessness. The third I is the original I. And this I tells me that I am the eternal soul, the consciousness, the point. I, the soul, am just a point, and I live in the front of the brain, in the center of the forehead. I've lived before this body. I will continue after this body. The soul is a wonder. In mathematics, a point exists, but has no length, breadth, or width. It is so subtle. The soul is eternal, immortal, non-physical. And actually, when I really begin to identify with my permanent self, not my temporary body and its labels, and therefore my ego and lack of self-respect, It's like coming home to a place inside where you feel so easy, so relaxed. You take the pressure off yourself to look good, to impress people. And it's a wonderful feeling. My own experience when I began to meditate, the more I connected and not only know and not only believe, but began to experience the reality of who I was. It's like it just released this incredible fragrance of calm. This sweet feeling just came through my mind. I could even feel it physiologically calming the organs of my body down too. So it's like coming home to this sweet place inside. And I would say that when I begin to sow the seed of my true identity, that the reality of life, and we know it and we believe it, but we don't really experience it. The reality of life is that I'm a soul. That starts to influence my mental and emotional patterns. That starts to influence the way I see the past, the way I see the future. It starts to influence the amount of thinking, and it releases the seed of peace into my inner world. It's like a magic thing. It's quite extraordinary. Many times I mention that the aim of meditation is not to be peaceful. I'd say that's the result. The aim of meditation is to know and experience who I am. And the automatic byproduct is this incredible feeling of a sweetness inside, a calmness, a peace that just really begins to soothe my mind, soothe my emotions. It's like a balm for my inner world. And so I would say that really the trunk of the tree is my sense of awareness. But even we can go deeper. And I would say that the seed of the tree, the seed is influencing the trunk, and therefore the branches, and therefore the twigs and the leaves, my thinking. And for me, the seed of our inner consciousness, the greatest influence perhaps, is my sense of belonging. Who do I belong to? It's intrinsic to the DNA of the human spirit to have relationship, to belong, to be loved, and to be loving. And, you know, I really do feel that my own experience is that when the heart feels full of love, I feel so easy about myself, so relaxed, quite content. And definitely my mind cools down. I feel the mind feels quiet. And definitely I express more compassion and understanding to others. But if the mind lacks love, it can never rest. It's like the agitated mind. You know, the mind might have every material thing. It may have the highest position in the company. It may have all of the external symbols, but it lacks love. And the agitated mind, it's disturbed. It keeps searching, seeking. It can never stop. It can never just relax. The first need in life is love. The first desire is love. And I honestly believe that when we don't taste that, the mind doesn't taste a quality of love, then really the mind is just permanently searching and seeking. It never really feels settled. It's in this permanent state of agitation. And so I think that there's, you know, three sources of love in life: the self, God, and my family and friends. From the self, I think not much love coming, unfortunately. We're often quite self-critical and putting ourselves down. From God, many have a faith in God, but I would say, do we really experience that deep, real love, taste that feeling of belonging and love? Maybe. But the one source of love is really my family and friends. And if there's some upheaval, if there's a conflict, if there's a loss, my whole life goes into upheaval. What is spirituality? Really, how to quieten the mind. The first step is to have a loving relationship with myself as a soul. The second, I would say, is to have a loving relationship with God, the Supreme Soul. And I think really that, when these two platforms are there, then really it starts to influence the trunk and the whole tree. There's a sort of a calmness deep in the core of my being. I know who I am. I know who I belong to. I feel settled within myself. And many times I feel we search for true love. I think it's the subtext of human life. We invest my heart in relationships. We give everything. But there's a huge human dilemma, and that is that no relationship is permanent. Whether it's time, whether it's change, whether it's conflict, whether it's separation, whether it's death, whatever it may be, no relationship is permanent. But there is one permanent relationship, and that is the relationship with God. And I've been through so many phases in my life. To be frank, I've been an atheist, an agnostic. But when I started to experiment with these ideas that I'm a soul, this tiny infinitesimal spark that's eternal and immortal, God is a soul too. I'm the soul that's performed actions. I've reaped the fruit of my actions. I know happiness and sorrow. But God is a real soul, a living soul, a conscious soul, a real being that actually doesn't take birth and rebirth like me, is beyond that, like retains truth. And I can have a relationship with that being. In a sense, what is meditation? Meditation is creating a relationship with the Supreme. But why a relationship? Because it's in our DNA to relate. It's the most natural thing for us to have relationship. And I think when we begin to develop this relationship and experience this quality of love, the seed and the trunk of my tree really becomes strong. I feel quite settled. And even when all the dramas of life happen around me, I'm anchored to my truth in a sense. I feel quite settled inside. And yet, for many of us, I think we yearn to have this quiet mind. We yearn. So many of us try meditation, and let's be honest, so many of us feel, I've tried and it doesn't really work. And I prefer not to even use the word meditation these days because it implies I have to travel to a different consciousness. I sit down, and that's sort of hard work. It seems like it's hard work. We already feel a bit run down and exhausted by life. And then someone is telling me, to try to transform your consciousness. And this is why what I've learned from the Brahma Kumaris is to remember. Why? Because remembering is the most natural thing of my mind and intellect, of my consciousness. And what do? At every millisecond, I'm remembering. I may be remembering what I have to do next. I may be remembering what I just did. I may be remembering what Sister Shivani said when she introduced this program, whatever. But each time you remember, you're plugging in. You're connecting. It's like a subtle thread connecting. It can be to the person beside you. It can be to a person in Sydney or London or New York. It is the same time. The soon as I connect, I plug in, I'm influenced. The millisecond I remember a person, a past incident, a situation, I'm influenced by it. And then I download a feeling into my mind. It's like I live stream the energy of that incident into my mind. And so if I remember a family member I love. As soon as I connect, that love is there, that I'm influenced by that belonging, that love, I feel quite quiet inside, peaceful inside. But if I remember a colleague, a family member I'm not getting on with, there's conflict, there's differences, the instant your thought touches them, remembers them, I'm influenced by that conflict. My mind is peaceless, it's disturbed. There's a discomfort inside, an anxiety inside. If I remember God, if I learn, that's all I have to do is, rather than remembering the past, people, situations, I just remember the divine, remember the supreme. I plug in there. I'm influenced by those qualities. It's like you live stream the highest vibrations into your mind. It's like clicking on a website and downloading all the data from the God website, so to speak, into my mind. And when you have that vibration in your mind, it's like your vibration is the highest vibration. It's very light, it's very peaceful, it's very calming, it's a true quiet mind. That state of mind sustains me. It sustains the atmosphere and it sustains people around you. You cannot underestimate that if you develop this quiet mind, it is no greater gift for your children and your family members. Your presence will automatically uplift and sustain them. And so I often feel there's 3 laws. The first is pay attention to what I remember. The second is that whatever I remember will influence me. And the third is that whatever influences me will create the feeling in my mind, will either make it quiet or quite disturbed and noisy. So really the question to ask myself, if ever I'm peaceless, if ever I'm unhappy, if ever I'm flat, just ask yourself one question: what am I remembering? And I will guarantee you, you'll notice you're dwelling on something of the past. You're dwelling on someone's behavior. You're dwelling on your own mistake. You've plugged into those things. It's a low energy, a low vibration. You don't feel good. You feel quite down. What have I learned from the Brahma Kumaris? I've learned that as I move about my life, we all have busy lives, to remember who I am and to remember the divine, and I can enjoy a really quite a quiet mind. It's real. It's not imagination. It's a real experience. Of course, it takes practice. But I think, as we all can see, looking at the world around us at the moment, we can see there's so much change going on, and it's just going to escalate as far as I can see. And so we can't really depend on the external environment. I've got to create a stability internally. And this is where I really feel that it is so important to not just listen to a talk like this, and then as soon as it finishes, my mind reverts to its old story and its old thinking, to really begin to practice, really begin to practice who am I and who do I belong to. And really, I will feel myself having moments of a much quieter mind. The more I practice, those moments will grow. And when I really practice regularly, it becomes more who I am than who I'm not. And really, it makes a huge difference to how I feel, to my relationships, to my performance in the workplace, even to my physical health as well. There's absolutely massive data, which you know too, that the more your inner world is calm and quiet, it has a massive influence on the matter of this body. The vibrations of your mind influence the matter of this body. And so I would really feel that this is the last session for the year. Do yourself a favor, because I know we often say, yes, I'll do it, but we always get distracted. We put it off. And then after a while, we really feel I can't sleep well and I'm really in a semi-agitated state. Really do yourself a favor and pledge to really learn properly, these two lessons of a quiet mind, to know who I am and know who I belong to. And it will make such a difference to the quality of your life. So I'm going to wind up there because Sister Shivani was saying just for chat for 30 minutes. I think it's about 30 minutes, but maybe we can have some meditation. So I'd like to invite everyone, if we can, for these few minutes, put down all devices, move away from all distractions, put down cups, pens, papers, and let us just sit with my own thoughts. And I'm going to offer a few thoughts to follow. Is there anything more important in life than a quiet mind? A quiet mind is a huge power. But a quiet mind is the result of a deep understanding of who I am. Let me observe my life and observe what I do in my life. How much do I identify with what I do? As an IT person, as an executive, let me just step back, withdraw from identifying with what I do. And now in the eye of your mind, observe the image of your body and all the labels of your body. Is that who I am? And now even feel yourself letting go, stepping back, even moving beyond the image of the body. And now even observe your past story. What has happened to you? How people have treated you? How much do I even identify with that story? To really know and experience who I am, I move beyond identifying with what I do, the image of my body, and even my past. And I sit so lightly in the center of the forehead. Consciously feel yourself as a minute spark, a star of life energy, sitting in the front of the brain. I, the eternal soul. And in this state of soul consciousness, feel the fragrance of peace in your mind. The more I move beyond the identity of my labels, my body, The speed of my thinking cools down. Just consciously feel yourself quietening, calming, cooling down. And in this state of soul consciousness, I look through the eye of my mind and I see a radiant jewel of light. Turn your mind in the direction of this light, the image of the divine, the form of the divine. This radiant jewel of light emanating a purity of love. Just allow that love to enter the core of your being. Just feel it caressing you, calming you, and feel your mind so still. Such a sweet feeling. This pure love settles me. So that I can know the depth of peace. To harness a quiet mind in my life, all I need to do is remain aware. In my family, in my workplace, remain aware of the eternal self, the soul, and the one relationship that's always exists. The more I practice, the quieter my mind will become. And from my heart, I can say, I am a peaceful soul. I am a peaceful soul. Om Shanti. Thank you so much.
Om Shanti. Thank you, Charlie Bhai, for this lovely experience. I'm sure all participants would agree with me that it was really a very, very calming and soothing experience in meditation. And uh, what a beautifully explained session it was. We got really good insights into this topic, the power of a quiet mind, very nicely explained. And just to let you know, for the participants, that we have been recording this session, and we will be sharing you the YouTube link so that you can always go back and refer to uh, the the lovely points shared by Brother Charlie again, because all of this knowledge comes with a lot of depth and experience attached to it. And what a great fortune to have Charlie Bhai with us this afternoon. Thank you so much for taking your valuable time out to share your thoughts on this topic. And moving forward, we would like to present to all of you a brief report of the SiT retreat services for the year 2019 and 2020. So I would like to ask Brother to share the PPT. Yes. So this year started off sorry, I can't see the screen. Just give me a second. Yes. So the main objective of these monthly retreats, which is called SiT, Spirituality in IT Retreats, was to help people understand how to stay calm under pressure by rethinking the mindset and to apply various principles of spirituality to overcome a variety of situations that we face. Every day, it's a different situation which we come across. So, how to apply these simple and practical principles of spirituality to overcome them and to handle different people and people related issues that we face at our workplace, because everybody in the corporates have to um, face a lot of people and there are many issues which they come across. So how to handle it in a better way is what we offer in these monthly retreats, and to improve our efficiency and effectiveness and thus our productivity. So these monthly half-a-day retreats happen every second Saturday of the month. Thought-provoking sessions by experienced practitioners take place in these half-a-day retreats. Before the pandemic, it was a half-a-day retreat, but from March this year, it was happening for 1 hour, which was online. Life-enriching interactions among like-minded professionals. We created a platform where like-minded professionals could come together and help each other with their enriching experiences and interactions, and deeply soothing and elevating meditations. Like you all, the participants might be aware that towards the end of our sessions, we concluded with few moments of silent reflections. And if I look at the feedbacks of all the monthly retreats, the best or the most loved part was the meditation conducted by the Brahma Kumaris. It would calm down the mind and the body and give a very rejuvenating experience. So in short, we cherish spirituality through these retreats. Next slide. Yeah. We've conducted these monthly retreats, and this year, I would say that roughly around 1,200 participants benefited through this monthly program of ours. Organized online webinars for continued sustenance, even though people couldn't come physically to Shanti Sarovar, our retreat center this year, but we thought we would not break the chain process and continue it through our online webinars whilst everybody was staying at home. We held many sessions in companies this year like TCS, Infosys, Novartis, Salesforce, Tech Mahindra, Wipro, Aries Technologies, etc., and many more. These retreats, several BKIT retreats also for professionals who have been following all the disciplines of the Brahma Kumaris plus working. For them also separately, many such events were taking place on a monthly basis. So some of the topics which we covered this year in our monthly retreats for the IT professionals were Positive Mind, Positive Vibes by Brother Enrique from Spain in the month of December. And we had Sister Ruchi, Overcoming Overthinking, which is a big problem or a big challenge faced with many of us in the current times. Then Healing, Self-Healing Through Meditation by Brother Warren Carey from Australia. This was one of the most loved session because Warren is an experienced meditator for more than 30 years now, again from Australia. And then in March, we had Brother Eric Larson, who was the Brahma Kumaris representative in the UN. And the topic was Financing Transformation. Likewise, Law of Attention, Change and Uncertainty by Sister Jayanti. Resilience in the Time of Crisis by Brother Marcelo from Colombia. Reset, My Time and My Relationships from Brother Dave, Boston. Sister Gopi shared her thoughts on mental strength from Inner Peace. And Sister Shireen from Tampa, who's originally from Hyderabad, based in USA, she shared her thoughts on the courageous response to crisis, Staying Light and Loving Life by Brother Eric from Canada. Seeing Light Through the Dark by Sister Manda, who heads the Oxford Retreat Center, London. And then, of course, today we had a beautiful session by Brother Charlie on the power of a quiet mind. So this is how each month we had some wonderful people who are authorities in their subject, which they shared with us. And we conclude this year. Some of the flyers you can see of Sister Shireen, of Sister Manda, who shared their thoughts with us. Change and Uncertainty by Sister Jayanti, Staying Light and Loving Life by Brother Eric. Yes. And some experiences shared by the participants was how to control my thoughts and meditation. People got some good tips and tools, and how to radiate love and peace in our meditation, how we can serve people through our mind. And some said that how to stay composed and how to connect with my higher self. So some tips and tools were offered. Focus on the inner silence for solutions to the outer uncertainty. Awesome to connect spirituality with IT people, lots of new learning. Power of peace, three major forces. Excellent meditation experience, worth practicing regularly. And most of them suggested that you should keep it weekly once instead of monthly once. But due to our time constraints and many offers coming from different countries, even though we want to have it, but yes, we surely plan for the future to have such kind of events for our IT brothers and sisters. Then this was a few glimpses of our retreat, our anniversary celebration last year, which was the 8th anniversary, where we had Brother Enrique from Spain, who conducted a half-a-day retreat for the CXOs of IT companies, and then followed by the program in general for all working IT professionals. It was also a big success. And today, just move forward. And these are some of the topics covered for the BKIT professionals in the last 1 year, those who are practicing meditation and are working in IT companies. In April, we had Sister Gayatri, very senior BK from USA. View Master, 7 Ways of Seeing with Love was her topic. Then we had Brother Stephen from France on the topic Call of Time. Then Brother Christian Rubin from France again, True Stories, Nice Stories, wherein he shared many stories of how this organization is moving forward and is moving towards bringing about change. Finding True Purpose in My Spiritual Life by Brother Dave from Boston. Experiencing the transformational power of silence through isolation. During isolation was the topic covered by Brother Harsha. We are a team of about 60 to 70 working IT professionals who have been helping us to sustain these monthly events. And a big thank you to the BKIT team for their consistent support. These were the flyers for these monthly BKIT retreats. And yes, last year we had every year we used to plan some team outing as a group of, so this was the retreat which we had for BKIT professionals last year in the presence of Brother Enrique. It was at Pragati Resorts, and the chairman of Pragati Resorts is also a practitioner of Brahma Kumaris, a daily student of the Brahma Kumaris from the last 10 years now. Yes, glimpses of the BKIT retreats. Yes, move forward. Yes, as you all know, some sessions are been happening at different companies on a monthly basis, apart from the SiT retreats. So, Salesforce is one IT company, a US-based IT company, which has been inviting us from the last 3 years now on a monthly basis. Since the lockdown, we were having online sessions for them parallelly, and few topics from different speakers from Australia, New York, Turkey, Spain, USA, and Canada. So these are the topics which we have covered for the employees of Salesforce in this year. And then we have employees from Bank of America who have been um, uh, part of the monthly sessions again in Bank of America also from the last 3 years now. We sisters were going to the campus and conducting sessions. And after the pandemic started, it was again shifted online. So monthly, we had 3 programs fixed for IT companies, IT professionals. And then apart from that, we had requests from other companies like TCS and Infosys and Tech Mahindra also for a 1.5 hour session, which also happened in various other companies. Yeah, so these are the feedbacks which we got that help people and made a difference in their lives from Salesforce. Sharing the bond, the love with people, having freedom in relationships, instead of being possessive, helping those in need as a way of celebrating festivals. I would not check on news as it disturbs and focus on spirituality. One had this thought, the meditation part and the various things that we can do to keep our thoughts positive. I was very much irritated due to some family issues, but seriously, this session soothed my mind and gave some relaxation. Thank you so much, Brahma Kumaris. One said, lots of peace of mind. It would be better if we have sessions twice in a week. It was good and calming. So likewise, we had many people sharing their experiences from Salesforce with us. And today we will listen to one person from Salesforce who would be sharing her thoughts with us soon after we end this presentation of ours. Yes. So Bank of America, these are the topics on a monthly basis which we have covered so far, and about 20-25 participants, or at one point we had 40 participants also, have attended these monthly retreats exclusively for Bank of America. Yes. So thank you very much for your patient listening. And now I would, before I invite our senior sister Kuldeep to share her blessings for the day, I would like Sarah, if you have joined us, to share a few thoughts as to how meditation has really helped you in your life. Sarah has been a participant in almost all of our monthly retreats, the SiT retreats, plus she is the initiator of the retreats in Salesforce. So over to you, Sarah.
Hello, everybody. I hope everybody is able to hear me.
Yes, Sarah, please go ahead.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I would like to thank Sister Shivani for this wonderful opportunity to be able to speak in this great event. And I would like to congratulate the team, Shanti Sarovar team, for completing 9 years successfully. And there have been great moments and great impact that has been created as far as I have been connected since the time I've been connected with Shanti Sarovar for the past 3 years. Thank you so much for covering most of the part, the experiences that Salesforce team has been experiencing, and the observations and the feedback that we have been giving to the Shanti Sarovar sessions, retreat, IT sessions. So, I would like to thank, there are no words for me to thank the speakers who have been really, really committed, and there has been a great impact with the regular sessions that we have had on a monthly basis. So for example, every month we select the topic and we have the sessions, and at least minimum attendance from Salesforce for these sessions have been 70 to 80 plus always, and on average. So that shows the kind of interest and the kind of change or the commitment or the change that we are bringing among the people's thought. Like in today's session, we have we all understand that we are all working from home. There are a lot of things that goes in mind, and just in today's session we got to know that how it is difficult, how challenging it is to quieten the mind, right? So we have our honorable speaker who has spoken about this. What is, how do we deal and how do we handle this busy life, noise of life, and all of that. So these virtual sessions have really helped all. I'm talking about on. I'm talking on behalf of my colleagues at Salesforce. So these sessions have helped us to manage these challenging situations during these pandemic days. We have had the topics selected that way, and that really helped. The feedback has already been shared by Sister Shivani about how each of one of us have been feeling and what is the difference that has made, what is the difference that we have had in our lives, when we were connected in these sessions and get motivated, right? So like we just discussed about the supreme power and what is it exactly that we should be doing. So I really liked, personally, even me, I really like these ideas, the way these communications are passed, very soothing, very calm, very composed. And this actually, we have Faith Force. So I'm somebody who leads Faith Force in India as a part of my company. So the beliefs or the values that we bring out of Faith Force are also enlighten, inspire, and celebrate. So these are really very much connected, and I'm really happy to have have this collaboration in place, and I would like to continue with the same kind of pace, because this is bringing in a lot of values amongst our people here. Thank you so much again for the opportunity that is given to me. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sarah. Sarah is the Senior Operations Analyst at Salesforce, and she's been associated with the Brahma Kumaris from the last 3 years now. Thank you for sharing your experience, Sarah. And now we have with us Sister Kuldeep, who's the Director of Shanti Sarovar and in charge of all Hyderabad branches. Sister Kuldeep has been a big support, a backbone to initiate or help us run these programs in an effective way. So we are fortunate to have her with us. Sister Kuldeep will be sharing her blessings on this occasion of the 9th anniversary. Over to you, Didi.
ओम शांति।
Om
आज के इस 9th एनिवर्सरी पर विशेष हमारे चार्ली भाई को और साथ साथ हमारे जयेश रंजन भाई, जो हमारे बहुत प्रिय भाई हैं और गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से आप सेक्रेटरी हैं आईटी डिपार्टमेंट के, हाईसिया के प्रेसिडेंट भाई साहब को भी सभी को बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन है। आज SiT रिट्रीट होते हुए इसकी 9th कॉन्फ्रेंस हम आज ऑनलाइन कर रहे हैं। यह भी समय की पुकार है, क्योंकि इस समय लॉकडाउन के टाइम पर हम लोग साइंस के साधनों के द्वारा, या यही कहें कि आईटी वालों की जो इन्वेंशन है, तो इसको कैसे साइंस को भी हम किस तरह से स्पिरिचुअलिटी में यूज कर रहे हैं। आज हम घर बैठे भी अपने सब कार्य जो है देश विदेश में कर रहे हैं और बहुत से आत्माओं से हमारा मिलन भी होता है और सेवाएं भी होती हैं। तो आज का दिन बहुत शुभ दिन है और हम नए वर्ष की ओर भी बढ़ रहे हैं। हमारी सबके प्रति शुभकामना यही है कि हमारा नया वर्ष शुभ हो और उसमें भी हम और अच्छे अच्छे कार्य करें। लेकिन साथ साथ परमात्मा ने इस संस्था के द्वारा हम बच्चों को ये संदेश भी दिया है कि अभी नव युग भी आने वाला है। उस नव युग में जाने के लिए भी हमें तैयारी करनी है। उस तैयारी में हमें क्या करना है, क्योंकि हर व्यक्ति आज की परिस्थितियों से परेशान होकर कुछ परिवर्तन चाहता है। तो परिस्थितियां परिवर्तन होना असंभव है, लेकिन परमात्मा ने हम बच्चों को संदेश दिया है कि बच्चे आप अपनी स्वस्थिति को स्ट्रांग बनाइए, अपनी इनर पावर्स को बढ़ाइए, अपने संस्कारों का परिवर्तन करें ताकि हम संस्कारों से नई संस्कृति लाएं, नया संसार बनाएं। तो उस नए संसार में हम हमेशा के लिए सुखी और शांत रहेंगे, हमारे परस्पर संबंध भी बहुत मधुर होंगे और हम मिलजुल कर रहेंगे। आज आप देख रहे हैं कि संसार में इस लॉकडाउन की परिस्थिति में लोग कितने अधिक परेशान हैं। बहुत से लोग डिप्रेस्ड हो गए हैं क्योंकि वो सोचते हैं कि अभी आगे क्या होगा, अब इसका परिवर्तन कैसे होगा, क्योंकि यह दुनिया तो परिवर्तनशील है। अभी हम देख रहे इस दुनिया में कलयुग का समय चल रहा है, कलयुग का भी अंत है। तो अंत में हमारे आगे कैसी कैसी परिस्थितियां आ सकती हैं उसको हम समझ सकते हैं। तो सब लोग हमसे भी पूछते हैं अगले साल कोरोना रहेगा या नहीं रहेगा। तो हम तो सभी को ये कहते हैं कि ये व्याधियां परिस्थितियां तो चलती रहेंगी, लेकिन हम अपने मन को परमात्मा से जोड़ करके उनसे शक्तियां प्राप्त करें। उन शक्तियों के आधार से हम परिस्थितियों पर भी विजय प्राप्त करेंगे और साथ साथ नए युग में जाने की तैयारी करेंगे। इन एडवांस आप सभी को नव वर्ष की बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं और आप सबका नया वर्ष मंगलकारी हो, सुखदायी हो। हम सब मिलजुल करके इस दुनिया को स्वर्णिम युग बनाएं। ओम शांति।
Thank you so much, Kuldeep Devi, for your words of inspiration. She said she wished a very happy new year in advance to all of you. I will just brief you quickly as to what she shared. She said that people are now depressed in these uncertain times and looking forward to a ray of hope. But we all know that after this dark tunnel, there is light, there is hope, and we all have to have hope in these uncertain times, and we will all get through it very quickly once we hold on to this hope. And then if we connect ourselves with God, it makes life so easy and enjoyable. And with this wishes and with these greetings, Didi has blessed us with her presence, divine presence today. Thank you so much, Didi, for joining. And now I would like to invite Brother Bharani, who is the president of HISIA, Hyderabad Software Entrepreneurs Association. HISIA has been a partner with the Brahma Kumaris for these yearly anniversary events in terms of spreading the word to all IT company. So over to you, Brother Bharani. Not audible, brother. Can you please unmute yourself? Yes.
Yes, I did that.
Yes.
Respected Brother Charlie, Kuldeep DDG, Sister Shivani, Mr. Jayesh Ranjan, Mr. Ram Prasad, sisters and brothers at Brahma Kumaris. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to all of you. Well, it's a pleasure to be part of this 9th anniversary celebration of the SiT program. My hearty congratulations to everyone who's part of this transformational program. Well, it was quite an inspirational speech by Brother Charlie on the power of quiet mind, I must say. And I'm sure that there are many takeaways that all of us can internalize and practice. That's the most important thing that I kind of take that away with myself today. Well, I attended foundational course, Brahma Kumari's foundational course about 10 years ago. And Sister Shivani was my, a trainer, teacher, whatever. Of course, I really enjoyed that program. I've also attended a few of the SiT retreats as well. Quite a good experience that that I've gone through, and I'm sure our IT community can certainly be benefited by participating in these SiT programs. Well, touching 1,200 plus IT employees this year amidst this pandemic is a great achievement. A great job, Sister Shivani and team. Apparently, uh, if you understand the reality, if you all understand the reality, people are suffering from stress and various other factors and are really looking for inner peace and getting towards being spiritual. Particularly with the pandemic situations, employees have been quite stressed due to multiple reasons in addition to work. A recent survey conducted by an insurance company in India states 95% of the Indian millennials admit to being stressed, more millennials than any other nation in the world. The reason I'm bringing up millennials here is because the average age of an IT professional, right, is definitely in that range. And most of them are millennials for that matter. Well, it's an alarming statistic, especially for a nation that thrives on relaxation techniques like mindfulness, meditation, and yoga. The global average for millennials, who now range in the age of 18 to 34 years old, by comparison, is 86%, according to the study. The relevance of spirituality, religion, and faith had and would continue to prevail for the very basic reason that modern technology has given it an ideal medium to multiply and expand. So, in my opinion, interventions such as SiT retreat are very important not only to de stress but to embrace spirituality, to bring about self actualization because it requires people to focus on their internal values and work on becoming a better individual. Well, thanks for the opportunity to be part of this wonderful celebration and wishing this program many more years of continued service to the IT community. Thank you, everybody, again. Om Shanti.
Thank you very much, brother, for your words of inspiration and being a partner with the Brahma Kumaris in these initiatives. Your support and your help is highly appreciated, consistent help all these years. And I'm sure in the coming years also, HISIA would continue its support by in terms of spreading the word about these monthly programs. Thank you once again for joining us. And now we have with us Brother Jayesh Ranjan, the IT Secretary, with us. Yes, from the government. He would be sharing his words of inspiration with us. And the government of Telangana has been a great support and has been really helping the monthly retreats since a very long time. And over to you, Jayesh Ranjan Bhai.
Om Shanti and greetings to all the speakers, all the panelists. Let me begin by conveying my anniversary greetings, particularly to Sister Kuldeep, the head of the center, Brother Charlie, who is our distinguished guest today, Sister Shivani, all other brothers and sisters, my friend Mr. Bharani Arul, the president of ICR, and most importantly, representatives of so many IT companies, their staff, who have benefited enormously through the lectures, through the discourses, through the meditation programs of the center, the Shanti Sarovar Center in Gachibowli. Congratulations to all of you. And I too completely reciprocate the views which Sister Kuldeep and Mr. Barney mentioned about the feelings of being stressed, being anxious. And I would say that the real reason why there is so much of anxiety and stress in all of us is that the times have become very uncertain. Normally, when something is happening around us, people immediately become very knowledgeable about it because experts figure it out what exactly is happening and what is the reason, what is the cause, what needs to be done to solve it. In the initial days of the pandemic, as we all know, there were so many uncertainties, so many doubts, and most importantly, no one seemed to have all the answers. Even the most learned scientists and doctors and researchers, they were changing their opinions, they were contradicting each other. In the beginning, I remember there was a very strong message given that mask wearing is not compulsory. Only if you are infected should you wear a mask. And then later on, of course, now we all know that wearing a mask is very, very important. So, of course, I'm not suggesting that scientists are not knowledgeable or experts do not know their stuff. But the fact is that the nature of this problem was really unfathomable for a large period of time, and therefore that heightened everyone's anxieties and worries. And even now, hopefully, we are towards the beginning of the end of this pandemic, and vaccines are there. But even now, there are some questions and doubts about the vaccine, which no one is able to solve. In fact, some of you will know that Hyderabad itself is a very important center for vaccine R&D, for vaccine manufacturing. And of course, I know those companies, I meet their representatives all the time. And even they, frankly speaking, have told us. For example, once I posed a very fundamental question before them, that what is the efficacy of this vaccine? I mean, suppose I get myself vaccinated today, does it give me lifelong immunity? And they were not able to answer. They were, in fact, themselves very uncertain about it. They were not even sure if we have to take this vaccine every year, like a flu shot, or after 2-3 years, the efficacy of this vaccine will go down, because we haven't spent enough time in testing the vaccine. So obviously, we do not know about some of these things. So this is, in my opinion, a very big reason of this anxiety, because no one has answers to the doubts and the questions that we have. But obviously, one of the most important requirement, if you have to tide over this uncertainty and this sense of anxiety, is your mental strength. And obviously, mental strength has to be cultivated. It is to some extent God's gift, but you can also refine it, sharpen it, and in that endeavor, I'm 100% sure that the role which is played by Shanti Sarovar, the brothers, sisters, and everyone, that is kind of unparalleled. I have been to the Mount Abu headquarters on a few occasions, and I participated in a number of local programs and events and all. And I can give a personal testimonial that the strengthening of mind, the strengthening of human willpower can very easily happen if one follows the kind of discipline and the kind of core meditation values that they inculcate. So I'm happy that so many IT companies, so many employees are benefiting from it, and I really feel very grateful to the excellent work which is happening. The other point which I would like to make, that that is very relevant in our current times, is about encouraging a spirit of volunteerism in our society. All of us know that when the pandemic started, our government immediately announced lockdown. Lockdown was introduced on 22nd March, to be precise. And as all of us are aware, it came quite as a bolt from the blue. It came very, very suddenly. The Prime Minister announced it, and instantly the lockdown was implemented. And we all know that it created a kind of havoc in the lives of the migrant workers, particularly in big cities like Hyderabad and Delhi, Bombay, and all these other big cities. Workers who come from outside the state, outside the city, they suddenly realize that their sources of livelihoods have been cut off without any alternative support for them. And as you know, as we all know, in desperation, hundreds and thousands of migrant workers actually walked back to their homes, hoping that at least some sustenance will be available in their home places, in their native places. And of course, all that is behind us, but I still remember those very, very depressing and very gloomy times. But what was very positive about those days was the enormous surge of humanity and a sense of charity amongst even the most ordinary and humble people. And of course, the IT industry collectively played a very stellar role. Lots of IT companies donated money, their employees volunteered their time, they went to the streets, they fed the people, they arranged for their shelter, their clothing, their footwear. But the point is, and in fact, I wrote an article also in the Times of India, Some of you who want to read it can look it up on the internet. It came about, I guess, 2 months ago or so, in which I mentioned that since there is such an enormous surge of volunteerism, no one asked them to do anything, but by themselves, companies and individuals, they kind of realize that fellow brothers and sisters are suffering so much, and then they decided to step in and help such people. And the other very important thing, the point which I made was that if there is so much of goodwill and humanity in our people, why should we not continue this as a movement? It should not be sporadic or a one-off kind of thing, but can we see in our society, as we know very well, there are lots of people who remain vulnerable, who remain helpless, who need help. And if we are able to build this great momentum of volunteerism, I mean, that would be something very, very befitting. And as we all know, India is on the cusp of two very important milestones. Next year, we will be celebrating the 150th anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. And a year from then, we will be celebrating the 75th anniversary of an independent nation. As you know, we got our independence in 1947. So these two are very important milestones: 75 years of the nation, 150 years of the Mahatma. And as a responsible citizen, if we are able to serve fellow human beings who are in distress, who are in need, this will be the most appropriate tribute to the country as well as to the father of the nation. And I would really urge the Brahma Kumaris and their entire network, since they do so much of social good and they influence so many lives, they must play a very important role, a very fundamental role in building this movement towards volunteerism. And I can assure you that if you plan to start something of this kind in Hyderabad, the government will be fully with you, supportive of you, behind you, and we'll be very worthy collaborators in taking this movement further. So I would once again like to congratulate Sister Kuldeep, all the team members, brothers and sisters, and all the participants on this 9th anniversary. And let us hope for similarly brilliant interventions, programs, and activities in years to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Brother Jayesh Rajanji, for sharing your valuable words of inspiration with us. And surely, as you mentioned, that we would volunteer and whatever is expected from the organization, we would surely participate and help the government to achieve the goals, and in a spiritual way, of course. But thank you for your presence and really making this event a wonderful evening, a wonderful afternoon for all of us. So as the culture goes, we conclude all our programs with few minutes of meditation. So I would once again like to invite Charlie Bhai to have a few minutes of meditation and quiet moments of reflection, so that we can start our new year on a wonderful note with some positive thoughts. Brother Charlie.
So thank you, everybody. If I can suggest we just sit quietly for a few moments. We live in a world of uncertainty. Everything around us is changing. But I don't have control over that change. Where is my sphere of influence? It's my thoughts, my attitudes in my inner world. And this is why it is the time to really invest in quality thinking as the means to keep my mind quiet and have an influence on all those around me. The power of a quiet mind is unlimited. My thoughts permeate the atmosphere and influence all my staff and those around me. And when I realize this, to keep a high quality thought of who am I and my connection with the divine not only supports me, but it supports my family and it supports my workplace. Thank you so much to everyone for a wonderful year and lots of love and good wishes for the new year coming. Om Shanti.
Thank you, Charlie Bhai, for this wonderful meditative experience. And I would take this opportunity to thank firstly Sister Kuldeep, who's been the backbone of all these events, been in charge of all Hyderabad branches, and Charlie Bhai, who has joined us from Australia, taking time out, even though being so busy, doing so many things back there. Thank you so much for your valuable time and your valuable thoughts shared. I'm sure it will leave a deeper impact in the minds of people. And thank you once again, Jayesh Ranjan Bhai, for joining us and sharing your words of wisdom with us. And thank you, Barney Bhai, for being a support from HISA all these years. And thanks to all the participants who have joined us this afternoon. And I wish and I hope that you all stay safe and stay healthy and participate in these monthly retreats so that you can be more prepared, more in charge of yourself to make a difference in the world out there. Thank you one and all for joining. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Have a good day.
Thank you, Shivani Man. Thank you, Kuldeep Didi. Thank you.
You can leave your feedback, the participants, on the link shared in the chat box as to how you found today's session, or if you have any other topics you would like us to share in the coming months, you can always write the topic of your choice also, so that we can address to it in our coming months. Thank you.